Hey guys, I just wanted to get started on the daily recap today. It was a pretty good day. I took one loss on Tesla, but I also had a win on it. I collected on a little bit of shares as well, but yeah, pretty good day. Pretty good day. Coin ended up being a huge win for us overnight. But I want to start with like more, I guess active trades that I took. So we'll start with Tesla here. This is my exact chart. Nothing really changed off of this. And really, right, you guys will note that I had this little demand zone drawn, and it really stemmed from this daily high here from Friday, right? We kind of figured that we had found a temporary bottom on the daily chart. If we pulled from our swing low to our swing high in this external range, you guys will see, right, that we had our 618 at 177.25, which is what I was going to be looking for as my last ad. But we ended up getting an open right around here, and we pushed through the daily high, right? So normally when we get this, you'd almost consider this like a micro break of structure, which is, I'll show you guys in the hourly what it looked like. But we were looking for a pullback there and then a push back up to test Thursday's high, right? And this was the post earnings candle. So you can almost view this once again as kind of like your imbalance. Although there is a wick here, right? They would typically search for either the open or the close. Or, I'm sorry, the open or the I guess the candle wick on the upside as kind of like your liquidity and helps as well that we had a huge gap. There is a dark pool print at 196.25, so this does help kind of facilitate price towards those zones. And if you guys take a look, right, very, very easy flag. I mean, this was picture perfect. We had a top here with kind of like our spitting top. It sold off very, very controlled down towards this level here, right? We don't even need the bottom portion of this, but you guys can see the divergence here, right, leading into our from low to high. Once again, pull your fibs. You guys can see the 0.5 and the 618 lines up almost perfectly with that previous day high. I ended up pulling this call off the 0.5, so just perfectly discounted. It also helps too if we go to the hourly. I think you had to go with extended hours. Oh yeah, so this is what I was looking for, right? So you guys had this very large spread candle, secondary hourly candle, low volume, right, is almost half in terms of volume and the candle itself, where the spread is kind of diminishing. And then look at this third 3 hour, right? This third consecutive candle after the push for a new high. Very, very low volume. You can consider that a hammer, but look at the spread on this. Look at the volume, right? So not really an interest from either buyers or sellers, but it's going to continue in the direction that it's already trending that day. Add in the fact that we had claimed previous day high, which was Friday's high. This is just a classic SR flip, and it's going to look to trade towards, like I said, that imbalance or that, yeah, I guess I keep saying imbalance because it's technically not an imbalance candle, but it kind of is, considering the fact that it is post earnings, right? There's a lot of volume that's coming through here, and obviously it's going to try to trade to the highs of this candle here, if possible. And we had that clear break of structure, and it really just kind of opened up the floodgates for this to push towards the high of this wick. So that looks pretty good to keep going. This was one of my, I would say I only had 2 contracts, but this is probably one of the better entries today. There was one other trade that I took this morning. If you guys wanted to take a look at that, it was pretty simple, right? We had kind of the same thing where the market opened, right? It had this initial pop, and then it kind of pushed down to 184. It found a bottom here. We got tweezers, and then it ended up kind of pushing through really quickly to make this new high, right? And what has been happening lately on Tesla is a failure to hold these breakouts, right? The break in bases over previous day highs. It's been very, very weak the last month. That's just something I've been paying attention to. Not to mention that we had somewhat of an imbalance candle here, right? There was no real pullback, and I was thinking we would just pull back, retest this initial orb high into previous day high, right? And then fail and come down into this where this move started, right, to kind of mitigate this sell or this bullish candle. We didn't get that, right? This ended up kind of just pushing up for a new high. I was mainly looking at this on the 5-minute. Okay, so once again, this kind of pulled down here. I took entry right around here, thinking that we would kind of snap underneath this orb high right here and kind of push down. I was thinking towards the bottom of this candle, right at the base of it, and it just didn't happen, right? It kind of pushed back up, ended up pushing over the this high, right, which made a higher high, and I closed out for I think it was like a 14% loss, something in that range. Nothing too crazy. I think I lost 120, 130. I posted it for you guys in the intraday section. But it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal, right? Especially when trying to test a tape flip. Market obviously looked good for a pullback on the previous day high. typically I pull calls here, but the fact that this hasn't worked for a month is just an observation, and I try to fade it, right? And of course it didn't work, right? So I'm going to kind of side with the trend and just wait for a broader pullback, which we ended up getting here, right? And this is where I ended up flipping. I went long with the 0216 195 calls. And then obviously we're doing pretty well. You guys can see it's already making its way up to 194 here in after hours, and we'll see how that opens tomorrow. But that was the two major trades on Tesla, one being a loss, and then this one already about 35-40%. And then let's take a look at coin really quickly. Okay, it doesn't come any easier than this, guys. Being able to swing a position over the weekend and then it open up with one of its highest volume days. This was clean, guys. We're really, remember we were talking about this tight compression on the daily chart. Spread had completely diminished and kind of indicating that sellers were no longer able to push price any further, right? And we've kind of reached a point where expansion is expected, but we were right against the wall against this weekly 116 to 114. It looked like off the compression here and how, the candles really compressed that it wasn't going to be downside much further. And then we finally got our breakout over this spot here, right? And this is where we started our swing on Friday. You guys remember, right, we ended up kind of getting a break back over this little daily high here. Very, very nice volume on the daily, and we closed high at the top, right? This is always going to give you that hammer look, and it was right over a previous resistance, right? And like I said, for the third time, add in the compression here against this weekly level, volume had completely dried up. It's going to expand either upward, right, or it's going to have a quick spike downward. It didn't give any indication that it was going to spike down. There probably would have had to have been a crazy news catalyst, which you got to be okay with on swings anyways. So we pulled this here, and then obviously this morning it opened and then rallied. We ended up taking these from, I think it was like, oh god, I can't remember the exact amount, 1.72 to like, I think these went to a high. I didn't take it all the way to the top here. I personally ended up trimming majority of my position right here at this daily high. So like 131.78 is where I took bulk, or I'm sorry, I left two runners and I took those off right around there. But I took bulk off as this was pushing up to that level, and then the excess were taken on the push through. But yeah, took these from like 172 to I think like 2.92, 2.95 for my first trim. And then the rest was at like 4. Yeah, but either way, really, really good trade here. Didn't have to do too much for this. So this is a very easy trade in my opinion. Still think there's potential for this to push into this like this weekly fair value gap here at 144.11 to 137. This was caused from that Bitcoin ETF, right? So this is a true imbalance candle here. So it could definitely do that. But kind of to my point, I am looking potentially to short these because this is a clean market structure shift. Where we're retesting a previous breakdown, right? It's easier to see on Mara, but it's almost the same exact concept on coin, where this is a good opportunity to actually go short. Mara did the same exact thing. I tried to catch that today. That was actually one of my focus names, but I did miss this just from the simple fact that I didn't want to trade the first like hour, and right off the open it touched down at a 1 minute candle and kind of broke out, pulled back quickly. I probably could have taken it here, right? But it is what it is. We were already kind of enjoying the coin trade at that moment, so I didn't want to double whammy coin and Mara, and I just let coin run. But that was that one. Unity, another big one for us. This is kind of unfortunate because I never added where I should have. If you guys are, obviously, you guys are part of the Discord. Oh, not Unity. What did I say that for? SQ. Oh my gosh. Brain fart. This is unfortunate because we were looking initially for this zone to hold here, right? It was like 65, right? We'll just round that up 6 cents, down to 62. And honestly, guys, I thought it was going to fail here at 62. But what really happened the past 2 days has surprised me, and I'll be completely honest. Massive rally here on Friday, right off the 62 swing low, push through above, yeah, pretty much against the gap fill that it filled initially, and then opened here and then rallied again today. So these swings are up pretty nicely now. I remember initially we took our ads right here, right at like 65, I think it was, 65. It did snap a little bit, so we saw a little bit of red. I think I saw as much as 33% down. But now we are back up, and we're just looking and waiting for 71.47 to 70.60, the upside gap here. And then obviously I will look to trim. And then, of course, Going into earnings, I want to try to hold a little bit towards the 76.86. But insane, insane, and very, very surprising move here on SQ. Pretty low vol too. It hasn't been super crazy, but we are kind of seeing that amongst lender names, right? UPST, we're seeing it. I think PayPal had kind of a similar move, but primarily UPST, SoFi, things like that, and SQ is definitely a beneficiary as well. So yeah, really crazy trade here. So hopefully this ends up playing out in our favor, and we'll have another win in our book. And then of course SPY, right? We had one contract left of SPY. My chart is pretty crazy, but remember guys, we ended up swinging this from way back here down at these lows off of 485.22. Right, it obviously pushed up and formed a hammer that day. We ended up trimming onto that hammer. And of course, we made a new weekly high and swept that. This is the day I was actually looking to go short against my long. So this worked out decently well. And then, of course, right, today we had our final push. We ended up opening right at the close of Friday and just really rallied and had that crazy, crazy candle that pushed us through 490. And I ended up trimming my final contract, so that was a 47% win. I only had one contract. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, I seized most of my, most of my profits on this hammer here after adding the low. Probably a mistake on my part, but then again, I'm kind of in a base hit mode on SPY whenever it comes to the call side, just because of how overextended we are. Plus FOMC, earnings, I'm not going to hold that much longer than I need to, especially as it pushes into target. So that's going to be it, guys. That was really all I did today. Just one little loss. Obviously, we're going to see how SoFi turns out, but it looks like Tesla overnight's going to be a win. I think SQ is going to be a win, so those will be two big ones there. And then, yeah, we'll see how SoFi ends up formulating as the week passes and then goes into next week, of course, because we have a 216 expiration. But hope you guys enjoyed. That was really, honestly, it's been pretty easy. It hasn't been the hardest in the sense of just kind of letting these things run. And the hard part is, of course, letting them go to target. But, for the most part, it's been providing pretty, clean levels to play off of. It's just taking those ads when needed and then letting the rest go. Day trading, I would say, is a lot harder, especially if you're trying to get, moves on SPY. It's been pretty tough ranges. So just finding these names that are providing good risk reward, and then being patient. That's the biggest thing. Waiting for those daily, weekly, levels, and then letting the hourly, the 15, be the kind of the guiding hand as an entry form, and then letting them go from there. So been on a nice little roll so far. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude it there, guys. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to tomorrow.